This week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy triggered mass outcry in Ukraine after he signed a new law that was widely perceived to undermine the independence of two key anti-corruption bodies, namely the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, or the NABU, and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, or SAPO. The bill's passage triggered thousands of people to take to the street, marking the largest anti-government protest since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. This outcry prompted Zelenskyy to U-turn 2 days later and introduce a bill that aims to reverse the changes made in the previous one. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why the new bill was so controversial, why Zelenskyy buckled under pressure to reverse it, and what might happen next. Dive deeper into politics with our magazine Too Long. Yep, we make a real physical magazine. In the latest issue, we discuss if Europe can really defend itself, why people like Putin get away with it, and whether we're observing the end of the American order. Find out more by clicking the link in the description. Let's start with some context. Since gaining independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine has grappled with deep-rooted corruption. This was one of the driving forces behind the 2014 Euromaidan revolution. It was supposed to mark a break from the Soviet-era oligarchy and steer the country towards a more democratic European future. One of its key outcomes was not just the ousting of a pro-Russian president and a pivot westward, but also, under strong pressure from Western allies, the establishment of independent anti-corruption agencies, which happened in 2015. These institutions, tasked with investigating high-level graft, became a central condition for ongoing Western aid and closer integration with Europe. Progress, albeit slow, continued after Zelenskyy was elected president in 2019, when he ran on an anti-corruption, anti-establishment platform. Even after Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, Zelenskyy received praise for maintaining anti-corruption efforts amid wartime, particularly in 2023. Several senior officials were swiftly dismissed or arrested after major corruption scandals emerged, and reforms were introduced to increase transparency in defense procurement. In fact, 2023 became the most successful year to date for Ukraine's anti-corruption institutions, with NABU and SAPO exposing a record number of high-level corruption cases. However, over the past year, concerns about democratic backsliding have grown inside Ukraine. While most pollsters agree that Zelenskyy's personal approval ratings are pretty good, in 2024, a report by the Ukrainian Institute for Social and Political Psychology showed that over 70% of Ukrainians believe that the government is profiting from the war and is sinking deeper into corruption, compared to only 43% a year before. And corruption ranks just behind Russian aggression as the most pressing social issue for Ukrainians. Meanwhile, multiple cabinet reshuffles have occurred despite martial law prohibitions, and some opposition figures have suggested that cabinet positions are being dished out as rewards for loyalty rather than merit or transparency. There's also growing domestic criticism over the targeting of opposition figures. Just last week, Transparency International Ukraine expressed alarm over the arrest of Vitaly Shabunin, a prominent anti-corruption campaigner detained on charges of evading military service and fraud. Concerns over democratic backsliding significantly escalated on Tuesday night, when Ukraine's president voted to bring the country's two key anti-corruption agencies under effective government control. The new law grants the Prosecutor General, a famously political figure who's directly appointed by the president, the authority to issue directives to these agencies and reassign their cases to other prosecutors. In practice, this move dismantles critical safeguards meant to shield the agencies from political interference, and effectively gives Zelenskyy's office the power to halt investigations with a single phone call. Zelenskyy offered two primary justifications for this law. Firstly, he argues that the agencies have been compromised by Russian influence and must be overhauled. And secondly, he claims that they failed to deliver results, pointing to a backlog of unresolved cases, saying that there's no rational explanation for why criminal proceedings worth billions have been hanging for years. Now, Zelenskyy is correct to point out these institutions' shortcomings. While NABU was praised for its performance in 2023, an independent audit conducted in May rated the agency as only moderately effective, awarding it a score of 1.4 out of 3, a less than ideal rating for a body tasked with leading Ukraine's fight against high-level corruption. However, it's not clear how making them less independent or subjecting the bodies to presidential control would actually remedy any of these shortcomings. Furthermore, a number of other issues with the bill have also been raised. First, while Zelenskyy claims that the legislation is aimed at curbing Russian interference, critics argue that it contains no concrete provisions targeting Russian agents, either within or outside of these anti-corruption agencies. Second, the speed at which the law passed raised some eyebrows. Amendments were introduced and approved by Parliament the very morning that Zelenskyy signed the bill into law. Just minutes later, it was published and took effect, prompting many to view the move as an attempt to rush through a major structural change without transparency or debate. Third, the timing of the law has also drawn suspicion. Just weeks earlier, NABU launched an investigation into Zelenskyy's close associate and former deputy prime minister, naming him as a suspect in a land grab case. Finally, the government's broader pressure campaign against anti-corruption officials has added fuel to the fire. Earlier this week, Ukrainian security services conducted sweeping house raids on NABU officers, citing offences ranging from outdated car accidents to alleged drug charges. Of the more than 70 raids conducted, only 2 resulted in arrests over their Russian links, raising further concerns about politically motivated retaliation. You get the idea. While these anti-corruption bodies might have their shortcomings, the bill didn't seem to really address these issues, and both the timing and its rush passage through the Rada made it look more like a defensive power grab. Zelenskyy's defenders might argue that you need to centralize power during wartime to prevent infighting, even if that increases the risk of corruption. But that wasn't the argument that Zelenskyy made, and the public reaction to the bill suggests that quite a lot of Ukrainians disagree. Thousands of Ukrainian protesters took to the streets in Kyiv for 3 nights in a row, with demonstrations spreading to other cities, including Lviv, Dnipro, and Odessa. While Ukraine's allies originally refrained from saying too much, presumably to avoid giving Moscow a propaganda gift or undermining Western support, in the past couple of days, many European leaders and officials have publicly criticized the bill, with the European Commissioner for Enlargement describing it as a step back for Ukraine's EU accession path. Following this massive backlash, Zelenskyy U-turned and announced on Thursday that he'd heard society and approved a separate bill aimed at cancelling out the earlier one. Reactions to this U-turn have been mixed. While it's been praised by some as a display of genuine leadership and respect for democratic principles, others have framed it as a form of damage control. But more importantly, Zelenskyy has seemingly done enough to satisfy Ukraine's anti-corruption watchdogs. Ukraine's Anti-Corruption Action Center backed the new draft legislation, saying that it would restore the principles previously dismantled by the parliament. Nonetheless, even if Zelenskyy's U-turn has limited the fallout, the whole saga has been a gift to Ukraine's opposition, who will frame it as proof that Zelenskyy is both corrupt and weak. As you may know already, here at TLDR, we're committed to learning about the world around us, and helping you to do the exact same. And luckily for all of us, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, helps with just that. Brilliant helps you to become a better thinker and problem solver, with thousands of visual, interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Not only does Brilliant offer the perfect mix of engaging problems and competitive features, it also keeps you motivated with daily encouragement, and their app makes it easy to learn wherever you are. Instead of mindless scrolling with those extra pockets of time you find in the day, you can give your mind a workout with Brilliant's growing collection of programming courses. From learning Python to developing an intuition for computer logic, you'll get hands-on experience with real programs and learn to think like a programmer, building your problem-solving skills to thrive in the evolving world of programming. Plus, all of the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. To start your learning journey and try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. By doing so, you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription, and they'll know that you came from us, which really helps us out.